framed you in a particular way. This is your body type. This is how you should look. This is how you should talk. This is how you should behave. But I feel
difference is actually a differentiator. What difference you bring to the world, I think you should be proud of that. Your story made you who you are. Your interest made you who you are.
Yeah.
And here to North America, immigrate to North America, and I find that a lot of the girls that grew up here, even though I had this impression that, wow, this is a very free country, this is a very progressive country, they actually picked up the societal message growing up here that they were not good at math and science.
Hello everyone, I'm Rishabh Jolly. Welcome to Curious Souls. This is a place where you learn strategies and you learn various topics like product management, engineering from our experts. And I have my wonderful co-host Ankita with me, who will introduce herself now.
Thank you, Rishabh. Hello, everyone. My name is Ankita Mishra. I'm a senior product manager at Microsoft in Enterprise Cloud. Welcome to Curious Souls. If you haven't subscribed yet, press that subscribe button below because it really helps Rishabh and I to get amazing guests on this podcast for you. So talking about guests, today's podcast is so inspirational. It is one of my favorite books so far that I have read, and it's called Daring to be Different by Raji Rajgopalan.
Woohoo.
Raji is a director of engineering at Microsoft. She is a fabulous person and she is a propagator of inclusion and diversity through and through. Not only in her professional life, but also in her personal life. She loves coaching people. She loves you to dare to be different. And she is also a person who always tells you how to lead your own path, however complex, however challenging it can be. So please welcome Raji Rajgopalan to Curious Souls.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast, Ankita and Rishabh. Really proud of you two for doing something so amazing, and I'm super excited to be here as one of your guests.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Raji. So Raji, let's start with your introduction first. Tell us about your challenges, your passion, your journey so far. The audience would love to hear that. So let's start from there.
Yeah, so let me first introduce myself. Right now in my day job, I'm a partner director of software engineering at Microsoft. So partner, I don't know if that title is familiar to a lot of people around the world. It's really a very, very, very small percentage of people that are partners at Microsoft, right? It is, so you get to, you come in for me, I came in as a software developer into Microsoft and then became a software developer too, and then a senior software developer, and then a principal software developer, and then partner is one where once you get to the principal level, the organization and the company have to have the budget, and you need to have brought a lot of business into the company.
Right.
So there's a lot of requirements you have to check in order to be a partner, made a partner in the company. And there are a very small number of partners at Microsoft. And obviously, as you know, there are a very small number of women in the industry, in
That's
technology
true.
in general. So what that means is that proportionally there are a very small number of female partners in Microsoft, right? So it's really a very much an honor and a privilege for me to have a role in this company that has such a large influence and such a large impact in the world.
Wow.
So I really take that very much to heart. You know, this is a very huge responsibility for me, not only for the company and for the customers that the company serves and the technology that we build, but also as a someone that has to be visible for minorities in tech, for immigrants in tech, for women in tech. You know, that is a responsibility that I take very much to heart as well. So in terms of where I come from, before Microsoft, I was in Canada. I did my master's of software engineering of computer science in Canada in University of British Columbia. I grew up in India. I was born in Chennai, a town in India. Yeah. I was born in Chennai, but as you probably know from the book, I grew up in many small towns in South India and Tamil Nadu specifically, Coimbatore, Tirupur, Kumbakonam, lots of different small places that probably people don't even know exist, you know, people around the world. But I'm from very much a product of India, very much a product of all these small towns, but also because I've been an immigrant in Canada, I'm an immigrant in America, it's, very much part of my soul being this sort of multicultural person and everything that different cultures have taught me.
Right.
Obviously, you asked about challenges. I'm sure we'll get into it a lot more in your questions, but briefly, I grew up with a lot of gender-based roles and biases. Ankita, you and I were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
This is something that has made me, I think, all the fighting against those challenges. How do I stand up for myself? How do I make path for myself in this world that is so unfair.
Right.
But also, as you know from the book, I lost my mother when I was 5 years old, and
we're
I
so
was
sorry
placed
for
in.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I was placed in relative care, so multiple relatives took care of me at different points in my life. So I learned how to be resilient, how to be determined, how to speak up for myself, how to be okay with change and embrace change, in fact. And
Right.
all of these things are very essential in having a stellar career in technology, all of the agility with change and making friends, making relationships very quickly. So all of those challenges that I had to overcome throughout my early life, I think has been very instrumental in teaching me who I am and who I should be in software and in tech.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was a lovely introduction. Thank you,
Yeah.
Raji. Folks, everybody who's watching across the world, this episode is for you. You can see how coming from India, then Canada, then America, Raji has established herself so well in this industry and in general in America. So keep watching. There are some fun questions ahead. Ankita, why don't you go and ask the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Raji, like I told you, when I was reading your book, I connected with it on so many levels, not just being a woman of color, a South Asian woman. There are a lot of gender differences still, and that really touched my heart. And for everybody else, I think if you do not associate with gender differences, you have not faced that bias. This book also teaches you so much about confidence, about building your skills, about your unique identities, your personal branding. So coming to the book, the title, Daring to be Different, is so beautiful. I mean, I love the title. So I really want to know, how did you come up with the title? And the next question is also, how did you think about writing a book?
Yeah, so the title itself, it's probably is very familiar to your both product managers. It's probably
Right.
very familiar to you, this idea of iterating and experimenting and getting feedback and data on how to actually make product for, in technology.
Right.
I pretty much treated my get to market for the book as I would with my the products that I'm building for Microsoft. So I collected the material that went into the book over many years. I've been
Right.
mentoring many people in the industry, in the company, and a lot of the topics that I write about came from those mentoring conversations. Those were all data for me to learn about what are people struggling with, what are the
Yeah.
topics that need answers, and what advice that I'm giving to the people that I mentor is really resonating and what I should change. So I've been collecting the material for multiple years. But then when it came to go to market time for the book, which is the publication of the book, I decided to kind of have an inner circle that I flighted, quote unquote, my ideas
That's
with.
awesome.
Like a
a private preview. Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
We can totally connect as PMs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Like you applied those skills over here. Amazing.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
is a product that I built,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
it's very
Wow.
much an entrepreneurial journey as much as an authorship journey. So I got feedback from my inner circle, right? Like the
Right.
people that I really trust and whose opinions matter.
Yeah.
So I came up with a couple of different titles, and I asked people for feedback. Same thing with cover design. As I designed my cover on
Yeah.
applications that I
Yeah.
love and use on Windows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got people to give me feedback, and whichever worked, I used. And daring to be different really did speak to me because it is the essence of the book. You
Yeah.
know, it's a lot about whether you are a quiet person, an introvert,
Yep.
an immigrant, a person of color, a woman. You often find yourself in rooms where you look very different and you sound very different with the
Absolutely.
people, especially in a multinational company like Microsoft. So you have to dare to be different in order to have a successful career, in order to really make a mark in the world. And that really struck a chord.
I
Yeah.
love this. I mean, this title is so resonating with so many people out there, like
I
especially
know.
us
Yeah.
as well, right? How
Yeah.
do you come from India, then you're an immigrant in America. How do you survive over here? How do you, when you're so different, your cultural backgrounds, how do you get yourself over here and you make it big, right?
Right. No, absolutely. And I love the title also because I get these questions a lot that, hey, I'm different. Or
Yeah.
because the society, the world, the social media has framed you in a particular way. This is your body type. This is how you should look. This is how you should talk. This is how you should behave. But I feel being different is so beautiful. Once
Yeah.
you grow up, you realize that is your superpower.
Yeah.
Whereas when
Agreed.
you're growing up, everybody tells you to blend in, but that is not your superpower.
Yeah, I think up until like 2010s, it was everybody wanted to be a part of the tribe.
Right.
And now people are breaking up and saying, no, you know what? I have different values. I bring
That's so
different things to the
beautiful.
table. So
Yeah.
this is me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this has been in my life for a long time, right? Like even outside of technology, even within my own family, I sort of have I made different life choices. I don't have kids, for instance, right? I've been
Right.
married for 20 plus years now, and
Right.
we've chosen to not have children because that's the life we want to live. I travel a lot. Almost every year we travel, and even
that's
when
awesome.
we travel,
Yeah.
we do kind of very different things. Like my husband and I, we love to hike.
Yeah.
We're always on the mountains. We take these journeys that are like 20 days long, just
Oh,
walking
wow.
in the
Oh, yeah,
mountains
you have
and getting
mentioned that
lost.
in the book, the
Bicycle
Yeah,
trips. So these
yeah.
are all very different than what I see my family doing, and
Right.
I wear that proudly. You know, difference is actually a differentiator,
Yeah.
Right.
right? So
Right.
I really think that no matter what difference you bring to the world, I think you should be proud of that. Your story made you who you are. Your interests
Absolutely.
made you who you are, and
That's so true.
Yeah.
that's so amazing that that you're bringing that difference into the world.
Yes, absolutely.
So Raji, in your book, you mentioned things were not in your favor when you were a child, right? We get a lot of questions from people all over India, America as well, that things are not going in my favor, right? And I'm facing challenges. How do I come to America as an immigrant and make it? And I don't think I can cut it, right? So here's a question for you: like things that were not favorable to you in the past, how have they helped you shaping up to be the leader you are, right? So because I think there's a lot of values, there's a lot of things you learned.
Right.
And now, after all those learning, in fact, you're a better leader versus if you would have been if you had a comfortable life. So,
Right.
tell us more about it.
Yeah, I think even the fact that I lost my mother when I was so young, I think that caused a lot of instability in my life, and it's not a pleasant thing for it to happen to anybody. And it was, in fact, very difficult for me to survive those years. I mean, I had a very wonderful family, lots of my aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
As you probably know, India, it's a very close-knit
Yeah.
family, right? And lots of them came to my father's help, and they took care of me and all of that. But it is still a very challenging thing for a child to be moving around so much. And I think that actually, in hindsight, though, it did, like I said, teach me that determination. Like the first thing that one of my ex-managers told me, that the first word that comes to his mind when he thinks of me is determination, right? And that is something that my very early childhood challenges and hardships taught me, right? I have to be determined.
Yep.
I have a goal, and no matter what comes in my way, I have to go for it, right? And really, hardships and challenges are what teach you those life lessons, or what make your character, right? Even yesterday, or day before yesterday, I was going for a run. I'm a runner. I was going for a run, and it was really bad weather. It was so windy, wind gusts, and I was not very pleasant running outside, right? And I came home and was telling my husband, oh man, it was such a crappy time to be running outside. But it really made, it really helped me develop my character, because hardships are what make you develop your character. As much as at that time it's painful, you become stronger.
Yep.
And it is the same thing, whether it is critical feedback you're getting at your workplace. I talk
Absolutely.
about it quite a bit in the book. When I was new at Microsoft, I got a ton of critical feedback on my work. I would send my code for review, and I would get comments, dozens of comments: rethink this, refactor this, change this, redesign this, etc., right? And it was hard emotionally to take that feedback, because it was critical feedback on my work. But we didn't have the term growth mindset back then.
I was about to say
right?
that. Yep.
But I took it with
Yeah.
that spirit,
Yeah.
right? Like I have to you take what the feedback is telling me,
Yep.
how I can improve my work. But even though at that time it was difficult to take, it has resulted in me becoming better at my craft, better and becoming a better programmer. And at one point, an excellent programmer, to the point where my leadership started taking notice, not only of my work, but also of the fact that I was so open to feedback, and I was internalizing the feedback I was given, and actually making my work better because of that.
Yep.
All
That's
of
so
that really
powerful.
helped, right?
Yeah.
So I think your hardships, as painful as they are, cherish them, because they'll make you better.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Anything you want to add?
I mean, yeah, this is a great lesson for everybody who's watching out there, that everybody in their life, they go through challenges, and they are in a position where they're receiving critical feedback, or they're receiving things that they do not want to hear, right? But after you go through those uncomfortable times, that's when you emerge as a better leader, or a better engineer, or a better PM, because that's what shapes you up, and that what helps you in bettering up your skills. So this is a wonderful lesson for everybody who's listening out there. And thank you, Raji, for sharing that. That was very powerful.
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch the topic a little bit. Raji, let's talk about diversity and inclusion, right? Folks, Raji just recently gave a wonderful talk at UN about diversity and inclusion.
So
We will have a link to the post that Raji wrote about the UN talk, so you can go and check that out. But Raji, a lot of leaders over here are watching this video. So what do you suggest those leaders should do to have a more diverse and more inclusive culture in their organization? Like, and even companies in general, startups or like big techs, what can they do to be more inclusive and have a more diverse cultures? Because you've been in this industry for such a while and you have such amazing thoughts about this. So we would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, this is something very, very close to my heart. My mission as a leader is to build highly performing, innovative teams that are diverse and where every person feels like they can belong and can make a difference in their own lives and in the lives of other people around the world. So that is my mission. I take diversity and inclusion very seriously. Microsoft has a very strong culture, as hopefully you can attest as well.
That's true.
Microsoft has a very strong culture around diversity and inclusion. This is one of the reasons why I've stayed in the company for such a long time. I've been at Microsoft for 18 years now.
Wow.
And we have this, the 10 inclusive behaviors, like every single meeting room you go into, you have these 10 inclusive behaviors that are pasted in the meeting room. And it is there because you want it to be at the forefront of your mind, not at the back of your mind, but at the forefront of your mind when you're having interactions with your colleagues. You have to be brave. You have to invite other people's perspectives. All these inclusive behaviors have to become part of the company's DNA. So the corporation, the leadership, the team, they all have a very strong responsibility in making sure that inclusion and diversity are part of the DNA of the culture. I think it comes to making sure that we're doing all we can to combat implicit and unconscious biases, but also things like how do you make sure that you have a very strong recruiting pipeline where you have a very diverse slate, especially for the more senior roles that you're hiring for, you have a very diverse slate. How do you make sure that when you have these very diverse people on your team, you have the right professional development plans and the right opportunities and the leadership roles that you can invite these people into so you can retain them? How do you make sure that people have the flexibility to take care of their families, their children, their side hustles and whatnot, right? So you want to make sure that you're really building into your team's culture the fact that you're going to have a very diverse set of people working for you and you want to include them in all the leadership processes, decision-making processes, and so on. I also talked about this in the UN because this question was asked in the UN. I talked about this in the post as well. It has to be also relevant to the local area. I mean, you have a very global audience for this podcast, right?
That's
so
true.
In every culture, inequality is slightly different. I talk about this in the post where I grew up with all these inequities in India where I was supposed to eat after all the men in the family had finished eating because I grew up in a very traditional South Indian family. And that was my role. And I was expected to be a mother, a wife, a daughter-in-law, but really nothing more than that, even though I was educated, right? So these were all very gender-based. Like they put a lot of women in boxes, a lot of people in boxes, and to be honest, right?
That's
we
true.
all have labels and boxes that we are supposed to fit into. But I come here to North America, I immigrate to North America, and I find that a lot of the girls that grew up here, even though I had this impression that, wow, this is a very free country, this is a very progressive country, they actually picked up the societal message growing up here that they were not good at math and science,
That's true.
which was not a message. I don't know, Ankita, this was not a message that I heard growing up at all. In fact,
Opposite,
right? Like it's like, oh my God, this is the perfect thing for you to do because you don't have to
true.
lift heavy weights.
That's true. Yes.
So this is what you hear in India growing up as a girl, and then it's very different in North America. So every culture is very different when it comes to how it struggles with inequality. So your policies have to really fit the culture and make sure that you're addressing the local problems with local solutions.
Yeah, I love it.
It changes at a fast pace. I mean, every day we wake up, there are new things like ChatGPT, and then there is some other AI invention coming in. So how can people, this is again a question that we keep getting on LinkedIn, how can people be updated with how the tech is changing, and how can people develop those skills quickly? Because people who are studying, I'm sure they're in universities, right? They're applying for jobs. And when they are graduating, maybe that deadline is like after a year or 2 years they're graduating, the tech industry might have changed so much. So what tips and tricks do you have for such folks?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. One of the things I talk about this when I started when I was a little girl,
Yes.
I wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
I actually ended up not being a doctor because I didn't have the right exam results to get into medical college. So I ended up being a programmer because I love problem solving and good at math and science. So, this was another natural career path for me. But if I had been a doctor, the rate at which knowledge change happens, net new knowledge, completely new knowledge, enters the field of medicine, in the space of decades.
Yes, that's true.
In the case of technology, it's a matter of months. Like every few months, something new comes along, a new library, a
Exactly.
new API, a new technology, a new language. You have to constantly be updating yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like you cannot say, oh, I'm done with my college, I'm done with learning. You have to be a lifelong learner in technology, which is something that actually excites me. I love reading, I love learning. I learn from a lot of things. I am a voracious reader. I love reading books. So this is something that really helps me with giving a little bit of relaxation for me. I love, reading for making how relaxing it is. But also it gives me the advantage of being a lifelong learner. I learn so much from books. Even if I'm reading something completely unrelated to technology, I learn so much from those books that I can apply to whatever problem I'm solving currently in my team. This is what they call analogical thinking, where you can take something from a completely different domain, find the parallels in your domain, and now this is a breakthrough. And this is where breakthroughs actually come from, not from the same old in your domain, but now you're bringing from a completely different background instead of experiences, and this is innovation, right? That's how innovation really happens. And it's an important superpower for everybody to have is what you're learning, try to see if you can find analogies in your work. And that's how you'll find the breakthroughs, right? So I think read constantly. Online, there's just a treasure trove of material, right? Like as much as it's easy for us to get lost online, we are always talking about people doom scrolling and wasting their lives, but that's how learning happens. I learned so much from YouTube. I learned so much from the stuff that I learn on. Even ChatGPT is teaching me a lot of things.
A lot of things, absolutely. Yeah. No, some amazing tips. I feel a lot of people ask me that why am I so active on social, and this is something that I totally apply. Like every time on Instagram, I keep learning. I don't watch things that are mindless things, but I actually go and learn about new places. I learn about TikTok for us. Like we use TikTok in finding new places, in checking out what other new
even finance,
quick
right?
things.
There are so many good tips about finance and stocks in general.
Yes. So if you're a learner, I think, you can learn from
I think
anywhere.
I totally agree with Raji's point that, you have to be a lifelong learner, right? I was joking with Ankita, I think the other week that, when we were young kids, our mom used to say, oh, just finish school and then life is going to be easy. Just finish your college, then you don't have to study, just get a job and then you don't have to study anymore. But you know what, like if you have to succeed in life, you have to progressively learn, right? And also, I think, again, there was a study done, and I think it was Tony Robbins who said this, that humans are the happiest when they are learning something new and when they're progressing, right? As long as they're progressing and as long as they're learning something new, they'll be happy. Let's ask the final question, Raji. Any departing thoughts and why you suggest our folks should read your book? So please let us know all your final thoughts.
I think the most important thing, if there's one thing that you all take away from this book, it is be bold. Have the courage to sign up for big things in your life. Opportunities don't come your way very often. This is what I've learned in my 20 years in this industry. They don't come your way very often. When they do, raise your hand. You don't have to check every single box of requirement that you think is there for that particular task. Raise your hand. Trust that you're going to figure it out, because you will figure it out, and really embrace the unknown and go for it.
That's beautiful. We totally believe in that. I mean, it's like you don't have to wait for the right moment to happen. You have to start. If you believe in something, if you have a passion for something, if you're striving for something, just take that baby step. Try it, right? And read this beautiful book by Raji. And also let us know in the comments below, what did you like about this podcast? What are the other topics that you would like Rishabh and I to cover? If you have yet not subscribed, please press that subscribe button. And we will also have all the beautiful links of Raji, her LinkedIn profile, her social media account, her book that you can buy. And it was beautiful. Thank you, Raji. It was amazing having you.
Yeah.
Rishabh.
Thank you, Raji. Thank you again for being over here, talking to us and sharing some wonderful insights with our audience. Like Ankita said, please like, comment, share, subscribe. And please let us know how did you find this episode and what else would you like to hear from us. Thank you for watching.
Jeff Kisner is a product manager leader and has been in Microsoft for 15 plus years. He has launched various products within Microsoft and has spoken in conferences worldwide.
You know, I wasn't meant to be here. I wasn't meant to be a product manager. It certainly wasn't a goal of mine. I went to school at a small university in Connecticut, and really didn't know what I wanted to do when I got there. In school, I excelled at math and science. They didn't call it STEM back then, but those were things that came naturally to me. And I went to college and I remember this very clearly, I took a linear algebra class in my first semester there, and I hated every minute of it. I walked away from it thinking, if I want to get into mathematics, which came very naturally to me, I would have to go through years and years of stuff that other people did before I got to the creative side of the area. And so I dropped that and I started focusing on things where you could be creative right from the start. And so I focused in on English literature, basically.
Oh, wow.